Welcome to Your Success Tonic. If you're ready to explore what it would mean to step into your boldest, most exciting vision of success, then you're in the right place. Welcome to Your Success Tonic. I am delighted to welcome Ariel Jackson onto the podcast today to talk to us about social media marketing and her commitment to diversity and inclusion, which is at the forefront of her work. With a talent for helping businesses find their true voice and authenticity, Ariel is always exploring new cultures and cuisines while pursuing her passions for fitness, health, and coffee brewing. So we have that in common, Ariel.
Oh, yes, I love that.
Her dedication to her craft is matched only by her commitment to her loving marriage. And I am so thrilled to have Ariel share her knowledge and insights with us today. Welcome, Ariel.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit about what you specialize in and why you chose that as a specialization.
Absolutely. So I specialize in social media marketing, but I start from a strategy standpoint, and I really dig deep into my clients and potential clients' target audience and what they want to see and how they want to see it. But also, I like to dig into my clients' goals and also their passions, and I try to incorporate that into one social media strategy for them, and then we implement that with all the content pillars, the caption writing, everything.
Yes.
I got there through lots of journeys.
Yeah.
As a lot of people do with their businesses. I am no different. So I actually was working in the emergency room in clinics during COVID. And I was going to go back to school for a master's in nursing, but I decided that I did not want to do that.
Wow. Yeah.
So after that, I quit my job pretty quickly, just because it was a lot and it wasn't very good management. And I started a virtual assistant business. I was just doing admin work because I thought that that was the only talent that I had. I thought I could only do admin.
Mm-hmm.
And through doing freelance admin work for different businesses, I realized that I really, truly enjoy the strategies behind social media, the strategies behind helping people speak through their authenticity and through their self and just organic content, and not necessarily like buy my products, buy my service, buy, but more connecting with the audience and building a community. I like storytelling. I'm very passionate about people and serving and sharing just my ups and downs with people. And so I attract people. I realized that for myself, and then I switched to trying to help people to do that on social media, because social media can be a very big comparison game. And I think the more authentic that people can be, the easier, or I guess the harder it gets to compare, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And I love that, your journey has kind of encompassed different things that you've been doing, but you've brought together this desire to serve and help people and help them kind of shine. And you brought that into your what you're working on right now. So it's a beautiful way of bringing all your talents and strengths together.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes that some businesses make when it comes to presenting themselves on social media?
Oh, man. There's a lot.
There are a lot there.
I guess I'll just pinpoint two. So I would say first, I see people a lot of times just posting just to post, and it has no relevance to either their audience or even them as a business owner or entrepreneur. And it's just kind of just throwing something out there because either they haven't posted in a long time or because they want to just put something out there. But that's where a strategy comes in. That's where you really need a strategy. It does not have to be complicated. I think the second thing I see people doing is making it too complicated.
Yes. Yeah.
So, it does nothing. I'm simple. I'm very black and white, and I'm very to the point. And I think there's a lot of social media marketers even, and there's a lot of business owner entrepreneurs they think that their social media has to be complicated in order to grow, in order to build an audience, in order to know what to post and how to post, but it really doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. That's so true. There's so much advice out there,
Yeah.
and so much of it is, when you dive into it, it's so complicated. There's now you got to do this, and then you have to do this on this day, and then you have to do that, and it gets awfully overwhelming, awfully fast. That's my experience for sure.
It can get overwhelming even for us.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. Yeah. So, can you walk us a little bit through your process for creating a content calendar, that resonates with your audience?
Yeah, so I start off with a strategy call, and usually that entails getting goals, insights if the platform has been in use. So looking at like who the posts that have done well and why they've done well and things like that.
Yeah.
Getting the person working with their goals for their social media and for their business as a whole, just to make sure that they're aligned, and then their target audience. So we try to get really in depth about that. That way we can research about that person and who they're trying to reach. I like to create um, like a client persona for the client. So an ideal client persona,
Yeah.
just to say, okay, we're trying to reach Jessie, and what does she like? What's her hobbies and all things like that, and make sure um, that they align with the person whose content calendar I'm creating. From there, we create content pillars based on how many days a week that they're posting. So it's usually 3 to 5 content pillars. So for a fitness coach, it would be like we're talking about, here's some motivation for your fitness journey this week, here's some tips and tricks, and then here are some exercises or nutrition tips, whichever one they choose. And we create a content calendar cycling through those topics for the month. And
Hmm.
then we base the stories on those topics as well, story posts, and also base story posts upon any events that they have coming up, anything that they want to promote, or just how to build community and engagement and really engage their audience through the stories as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's challenging. So it's really nice to have a simple structure like you've described for sure. Um, so how do you advise your clients in, how to pick which social media platforms to use for their business? Because that's something that comes up quite often with my clients, is that they don't even know like where to focus. Like they're trying to be on everywhere all at once. So I was wondering if you have advice that you give your clients about that.
Yeah. I Man, it's actually really funny that you say that, because even as a social media marketer, people tell me all the time, you need to be on all platforms. You
Yeah.
need to do this. And I'm like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
So you don't
Exactly.
need to be on all platforms. I would start with what you're comfortable with and what you are trying to sell ultimately. Um, so I know Pinterest does really well for Etsy, and Pinterest does really well for product-based services as well. It's just a lot different than TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. So
Very different.
it's very different. And then for TikTok and Instagram, that tends to do well for both services and product-based businesses as well. So that's again where a strategist can come in and help you really pick the platforms that really resonate with what you want to do. I usually try to tell people to start off with Instagram and Facebook, especially since Meta is free and you can schedule posts through both of them.
Yeah.
Um, but I know Instagram has been kind of crazy lately, up and down, a lot of
Yes.
algorithm changes. So
Yes. So frustrating for people.
yeah, yeah. But if they're really, really just looking for engagement and just views and to grow super, super quickly, that's where TikTok would come into play as well.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
but we don't spin around. So
Yeah. So, in what ways do you think storytelling can be used as a powerful way to get across your message rather than just posting information?
yeah, I think storytelling really engages people, and people like to hear stories. People like to hear uplifting stories, especially in these times. And
Yes.
you can create storytelling to where it is giving information as well.
Hmm.
It's just kind of copywriting. But I would rather see someone's story rather than they post something like, oh, here's information about my product, buy this, or just random statistics. I'd rather hear, okay, here's how I went through this, or here's how my client went through this, and here's how I can help you, or just relating whatever they're selling or whatever they're trying to talk about, even to life in general.
Yes.
That's really it helps people relate to you as a business owner, as a seller, as a company, and people want to know that they can relate to you and they can trust you and they can feel like um, they're serving a purpose when buying what you're offering.
Yeah. I think that that's such a great point. The relatability seems to be so important now, like in our messaging, because there's so much information that's being thrown at us all the time. And so when people come onto your site or onto your social media, they want to feel a connection. And so by sharing your story, that's such a quick way to create that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So can you describe, your creative process, or, how you help your clients come up with ideas for their posts, like their creative ideas?
Yeah. Man, that's a great question. I have a process, but it's like I'm so like in the moment when I talk to people that things just pop in my head, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. This would be awesome. Um, so I love, that's why I love to have strategy calls and meetings to where I get to know that person and I just tell them to tell me why, like the why of their business and why they're passionate about what they do, why they want to sell what they want to sell, who they want to reach, and just tell me all the details you can. And then once we get rolling with that, I can really bounce things off. I'm very collaborative. I'm not like, okay, I'm going to do this on my own and you're not going to see it until it's done. I'm very, let's work together because this is your business and you should have a say in it.
Yeah.
So I like to bounce things off of each other in meetings, and also just work on the back end when I do take it to create a content calendar for myself before it gets approved by the client. I like to bounce things off my teams and other strategists as well, and really dig deep into like what topics are being researched. So kind of like, I guess, keyword research for like Pinterest, what topics are being researched for that ideal client or for that product or service that that person's trying to sell. Like for instance, I do social media marketing. So what are people researching about social media marketing? What topics can we get from the common research things and make that and either tell that through a story, or how can we promote that authentically? I almost said my business. Authentically through social media for that client.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how do you measure, what metrics should business owners pay attention to when evaluating like their performance on social media? Because, we get caught up in all the creation and the posting, and then, what should we think about next?
Yeah. Definitely take into consideration the analytics on that specific platform that you're using, and then compile that into data to look at overall. I would definitely set goals before you start creating content so that we have goals to look back on, see if we're, doing what we need to do.
Yeah.
So I would take a look at likes, engagement, so comments, and clicks, bio clicks or link clicks if you're doing like LinkedIn or stuff, or you can put the direct link in the description. Also, yes, I would look at audience and follower count because ultimately everybody's goal is to grow their followers. But if you can sell a lot of products and you sell a lot of services with a little bit of followers too. So I don't like it when people get caught up in it. I don't have 10,000 followers, so I can't sell this product.
Right.
You said you need to have 10,000 followers to sell this product.
Yeah.
So things like that. Engagement is really, really big because if you're not engaging your audience, it doesn't matter how many followers you have, they're not going to be engaged.
Right.
Engagement, like link or comments and shares and saves as well. So that's what I would start on
Yeah.
any platform. Let's just look at those. and see how you're doing with that.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I mean, I certainly, started to think about, oh, well, how many followers, is thinking about followers and likes. And then what I realized was that what I like about social media is actually having conversations with people. So I really like to, message somebody on LinkedIn and ask them a question and start to have a conversation with them. So for me, one of my metrics is how many conversations, meaningful conversations am I having with people? And then, and for me, that's much more interesting to figure out, how is my network growing and what am I, what opportunities are coming my way as a result of that. So yeah, it really depends on what your objectives are for your business. Yeah.
Yes.
So everyone's got different things that they want to pay attention to. So do you have any advice that you give to clients who might be afraid of getting negative feedback or criticism for their posts? Because I know that that is something that a lot of people are hesitant to post on social media because of this fear. So I'm wondering if that's come up for you and your clients.
It has for me, but I will say some of my clients are more, they're not necessarily afraid of negative comments, but they're afraid of getting in front of the camera and posting about themselves. But I think that and negative comments can go back to the fear of not being accepted. And to just the fear of what people think about you. And really, really, like, from just a heart standpoint, you're doing your business and you're promoting yourself for you and for your specific audience. And you aren't, yes, you're doing it, to get attention, to build engagement, but there's always going to be people that have their opinion. Most people are negative.
Yeah.
Most people are negative, honestly, especially in the world that we live today. And you cannot let that hold you back from promoting yourself. You cannot let that hold you back from putting your all into your business, and just getting on social media. It is really easy to let that fear stop you. It's really easy. Even from a standpoint of posting and your family and friends seeing it. I've seen that a lot too, where people are like, well, I don't want this person to see it, or I'm scared that they're going to have something to say about it. And I'm like, well, let them say something about it.
Yes.
So you're doing this ultimately for you, and because this is your heart and this is your passion. So you have to work out of that why as well. You're never going to please everyone, and people are always going to have something to say. So I think that is more, there's like not any social media really tips that I can give about that, but there are issues that I can give about that, and encouragement, and just really have confidence in who you are and what you're doing. And you can, some people delete negative comments, but I would just reply to them with kindness. Kill them with kindness.
Yes.
I mean, they might be having a bad day. You responding kindly to them could help. You never know what people are going through as well to make them even think about commenting and stuff like that. So reply with a nice comment and then maybe block them.
Yeah, I think that that's beautiful advice. Definitely, really respect your true voice and be authentic, and then just show up with integrity. I think that's beautiful. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I do want to ask you about this aspect of your personal mission, about, this commitment you have to diversity and inclusion, and, where does that show up in terms of, the priorities for your business? I really want to inspire other listeners to be thinking about this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really love working with women of color, just because I, as a woman of color, have seen how difficult it is to find people that want to work with us, and to find people that, even if they do work with us, they don't work with us very well because they put a lot of just stigmas or a lot of things on us, like we're too aggressive or we're this and we're this, and they put us in a box that doesn't work for us.
Mhm.
So that's just as being a Black woman in general, it has been very hard to run a business, to own a business, and um, just really get up to the same level as everybody else. So that's a huge priority for me. And the other businesses that I own and everything that I do is to just really, really stand up for Black women or minority women and just let them know that they can be included, they are included, they can be six-figure business owners, they can be raised up to the level as everyone else can. And I don't think that people really see the full depth of how hard it is for us.
Mhm.
And I think because there's so many teams still that I see that don't have any color on them. They don't have any diversity in them, and it makes it harder for us to work with that because they're not aware of the situations that we have to go through as well. They're not aware of how to communicate with us well either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And, I think it's so important to shine a light on that and to bring awareness so that hopefully we can start to change that
yeah,
around. And yeah, I'm very passionate about inclusion and bringing more voices. I think that
mhm,
we all grow so much stronger when we do that, and
yeah,
we work together and really lift each other up as much as possible. So thank
yeah,
you
I
for
agree.
sharing that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And before we wrap up, I'm wondering if you would have anything to say around the idea of success. How has your personal definition of success evolved over time, if at all, and why might it have shifted?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It has definitely evolved with each season that I'm in. I being an entrepreneur, being a business owner is hard.
Yes.
And it's so up and down, and people come in and out, and money is up and down. And so I for me, success has to be more of little things that happen rather than how much income that I make.
Hmm.
So so I spoke in 4 podcasts this month. That's a huge success for me. Or I had an inquiry through just Instagram only. That's a success for me. And it's not just, okay, I hit the 5K mark. We're going to 10K mark. We're going to 20K mark a month.
Right.
Um, it has to be more of the little things because the little steps matter. And that's really, really like how my view of success has evolved. It's not how many clients I have or how much money that I'm making, but really counting the small wins every single day, and adjusting things and adjusting like my goals and everything. It's not all about the money because if you're just looking at the money and if you're only in business for the money, then that's not good enough.
It's not going to be fulfilling for very long.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for being here with me, Ariel. It's been really great talking to you and thinking about some really deep areas behind the work that you do and hearing what motivates you. And I want to make sure that listeners can find you online. So where would you most like people to connect with you?
Yeah, you can connect with me on Instagram. It's just instagram.com/authentica, influence, authentic with an A and then influence. And then I'm also on LinkedIn. I hang out there a lot too. It's linkedin.com/in slash or another slash. And there's so many slashes in that. And then Ariel Jackson Daniels. That's my handle.
Well, all those links will be in the show notes. So if anyone gets lost with all the slashes or anything, don't worry
Yeah.
about it. You can find all the links and connect with Ariel. And I hope that you do, because it's just been so much fun talking to you today. And I am so glad that we were able to chat.
Yes, this has been great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Hey, have you taken the Success Archetype quiz yet? If not, head on over to storytonic.co to take the quiz and discover how to leverage your unique profile to step into your next vision of success.